Hey guys, this is our April 18th lecture. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it to class today, so thank you for being forgiving for this adaptation here. I know a lot of you are kind of over the whole digital distance online learning thing, so I apologize that we're not in person. However, my wife had a little procedure done, just a little minor foot surgery. She's already done with surgery. She's doing fine. Just important that I kind of hang with her in these first kind of like couple of days just to make sure everything stays on point. So thank you so much for being understanding. We're going through our last chapter in our stress management book on environmental wellness. So we have all of our wellness factors and categories, and environmental wellness is a big one, right? We got to focus on that. If we're in a bad environment, a lot of other stuff is going to fall out and spiral into a negative status. Make sure that you guys go through all these slides. You'll have the slides on Canvas as well as just being able to see them here. You're going to want those links because there's a few videos in here today that I can't play those videos within this video. So you're going to need to just stop this recording and click on those links and just spend a few minutes watching them. So check your Canvas for access to the slides. All right, a little bit more about some of our environment and a few factors that go into our environment. Not going to spend too much time on this. This is just a snapshot from our book. All right, as far as technology goes, gosh, we've kind of talked about technology just being it's advancing so rapidly, and there's so many things that have only been around for a handful of years or less than 20 years, and we're still not really mastering how to use these things or how to use them safely and in a healthy fashion. So there's a lot of negative effects that come with screen time. And so one issue is going to be nearsightedness, myopia. So having young, growing, developing human beings spending a lot of time focusing on this artificial light and maybe focusing on things that are so close to them, when really historically, in an evolutionary sense, they would be crawling around in the dirt and looking at like plants and trees and things that are far away from them. Wandering animals, whatever it is. I'm thinking about little caveman babies. That's kind of what's going on in my mind right now. They wouldn't be holding phones, 6 inches away from their face. And you think about those little baby eyes. Okay, they're actually, I believe the trivia question is that the baby eye is about the same size as the adult eye. So I may be wrong on that, but I think that's a go-to trivia question. So their eyes are, once they grow a little bit, their eyes are functioning and working like a normal adult eye. But their arms are so short. So think about little baby short arms. They can't hold things far away from them. When their arms are as long as possible and straightened out, you're getting like 10 inches out of their arms or something like that. So they're going to be holding those things up close to them. And also, like if you're in front of a TV, so if you have that awkward distance, and then also the time in front of it and things that are moving so fast, like maybe when like something shifts scenes, like maybe whatever show they're watching, the little characters are on the playground, and then all of a sudden those characters are in the school or something like that. So there's a combination of issues as far as like what the brain can perceive, how fast things are moving, but also what's going on with the eyes. So to try to keep their eyes healthy, we want to reduce their screen time. A lot of benefits about just reducing that screen time overall. So that image there is actually from the Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. So we're not just talking about eye health, but also there's an interest and an investment for mental health as well. And then just from a pediatric standpoint, we have all the little rules and all the parameters. And you know what? I'm putting these images on here it's a little bit of some give and take, right? So there's some give and take. So we know that screen time is not great for us, and basically the less the better. However, we're in a modern age and everybody has just like really gotten addicted to this stuff. Are we going to be able to get away with no screen time when the babysitter's over, when they're at daycare, when you have one kid and then you start having another kid or maybe another kid after that. Me myself only have two, so I can only speak from that experience. But all of a sudden you add in that extra human being who needs extra care. Maybe that no screen time or low screen time rule that you had that was super important before the second kid arrives. Maybe you start getting fatigued and you start leaning on that like a crutch a little bit. It's going to be natural. So we try not to, in my household, we try to keep it pretty low and pretty minimum, but it's even more than I'm still really comfortable with. So even at probably like that 30 to 45-minute window per day, um, I'm still trying to knock that down personally. But in my house, I'll just go on a tangent here as I often do. In my house, what we often do is, I mean, our kids are basically they get to hold me and their mother's phone, um, my wife, just for short periods of time. We're not letting them just hold it glued up to their nose and watch whatever the heck they want. So monitored really strictly, and they're only if they're ever on our phones, it's for really short periods of time. They'll often watch some TV, like some children's shows, before bedtime, just a winding down activity, um, and maybe as like a few minutes in the morning during getting ready. So um, there's never at the ages that they're at. We've got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. They've never sat down and watched a movie from start to finish, at least not on a regular basis. I mean, that's just not a part of their lives. They've maybe done that a couple of times in their whole lives. So we are trying to adhere to some of these suggestions just to keep our kids healthy and happy, right? So kind of like short term immediate gratification would tell us to put those kids in front of the TV, and there's nothing they would love more than to just like plop down and watch a movie on past their bedtime and all that kind of stuff. But that delayed gratification tells us we have to sort of steer the ship a little bit more, invest our time and energy into getting them away from that screen to do healthier, more active activities, or to do. They still need to learn how to read books. There's just so many other activities at those younger ages that are going to benefit them more than just sitting still. Although I understand it's a tool, it's a crutch, it's something that we can use. And then there's multiple studies that'll show when they investigate childhood obesity, they look at like nutrition quality, activity time, things like that, and multiple studies have shown that the most common factor would be screen time. So the more time a child spends in front of the screen, there's a correlation to childhood obesity. I'm not fat shaming anybody. It's just that there's that correlation to health issues that come with that. So we just want people to be healthy. We don't care what they look like. That's not part of my drive to bring that up. Um, and on the other hand, if there is going to be screen time, you just got to really make sure to try and compensate. And it's not perfectly done. You can't go run a marathon, and I mean a marathon probably take me 5 hours in the event that I could start and finish it. It would take me forever. But maybe I do a 5-hour marathon. I don't want to stay in bed and on the couch for the next 19 hours. So that's not exactly going to counteract one another. However, it would help a little bit for me to be more active. But we just want to make sure that we are providing a lot of opportunities for these kids to be away from screens for their eye health, their physical health, their mental health. Right? As far as light goes, light is not light is not light. There are different variations. There's quality sunlight versus artificial light versus maybe tanning beds. Yeah, so we just need to watch out and try to, as a lot of our information this semester has shown, try to spend more time in natural light versus artificial light. Okay, so particularly one of the big benefits from sunlight is going to be your vitamin D3 levels, right? And we know that vitamin D3 is not actually a vitamin, it's actually a prohormone. And so it packs a punch. It does a bunch of great stuff for our body. So it's going to help with boosting muscle, decreasing fat, boost your mood, your mental health is going to be improved, immune system is improved. We know that our bone density will be improved. That's why in America, they add vitamin D is fortified into so many calcium products and dairy products. And if you look at that number there, it says 85% have lower than optimal vitamin D levels. All right, so there's some pros and some cons to being out in the sun. You get a little bit of sunlight, and it's going to maybe help out with some of your vitamin D levels. You might even catch a little bit of a tan, but too much of it is going to lead to skin damage, right? So we want to kind of listen to our bodies, and people of different skin tones are going to have a better capacity to withstand sun exposure, as well as going to need longer time in the sun to reap the benefits of vitamin D levels. So there's also an inverse correlation to the darker one's skin is. It tends to be the more limited the vitamin D levels are. So that's something to watch out for as well. As far as blue light goes, blue light is not necessarily the color blue. Like, I don't know, watching the Blue Man Group on TV is not necessarily going to give you more blue light than watching a soccer game or something that's not so blue dominant. But it's the wavelength of light that it's in a bunch of other images, right? So what's going to go on there is it's going to go in your brain. The way it's going to impact your eye and impact your brain is it's going to reduce your melatonin release. So in the previous slide, we were talking about skin tone. That has to do with melanin and melanocytes, right? So kind of a funny contrast there that these two slides sit next to each other. But this slide, the darkness of your skin, melanin and melanocytes have a big impact on your capacity to process sunlight and create vitamin D, or to shield you from it. So less melanocytes means paler skin, and you need less time in the sun, but you're also going to be more efficient at raising your vitamin D levels from a little bit of sunlight. And this one is melatonin. So melatonin is going to come out of your brain, and it's going to help with us going to sleep. It's also a high level antioxidant, so it's very good for preventing and fighting against cancer as well. So we don't want to screw up our melatonin release, right? So there's different products you can use. You can put on like blue light blocking glasses. You can sort of change some of your screens, make them darker. There's some apps where you can put more of an orange tinge to it. So some things that you can do like that will help out. All right, so we're still just talking about our environment, right? We talking about our screen time. We're talking about light. So going into some temperatures, there are some great benefits to sort of pushing the envelope as far as hot versus cold. So going into a hotter environment, your heart rate is going to elevate a little bit because you're going to be pushing blood out to the surface of your skin in an effort to cool off. So you get a little bit of low level cardio. Um, Looking at the work of Rhonda Patrick, she does some great professing and lecturing and podcasting and writing on the benefits of heat as well as cold. So some of her information that she's been putting out, she really shares the message about heat being healthy for us and beneficial for us, and all of the studies that come out of, I believe it's Finland, and maybe Sweden, and so they are historically it's part of the culture to do sauna over there. And individuals who are doing that on a regular basis, they're living a little bit longer and they're being a little bit healthier a little bit longer, right? So we've talked about lifespan versus health span. Getting into the heat, not too much, not so much that it gives you heat stroke or dehydrates you to a dangerous point or whatever. Getting into some of that on a regular basis is going to have health benefits for you. So it kind of depends on who you talk to, what that list of benefits look like. For me, I really like the elevated cardio action, right? So it's like you get to sit down and your joints and your muscles are relaxing, but your heart is actually doing a small cardio workout. As far as the sweating goes and detoxing, that's not my area of expertise. I'm not super well read on that. But a lot of parties will bring it up. And I know that with infrared sauna, um, there's research that backs up that you're going to change a little bit of your sweat profile, and things that are going to come out of the skin are going to be a little bit more beneficial there. So again, I'm not super strongly well read on that whole detox, skin, sweat benefits, but you get a little bit of cardio, and you also get a release of these things called dimorphins or heat shock proteins. And what those are going to do is they're actually going to promote the retention or the maintenance of muscle mass. And we really like that, right? We like muscle on our body for lots of reasons. And then benefits of the cold, gosh, you get benefits of the cold. On a short-term benefit, you get some adrenaline in your body, so it's going to wake you up. It's kind of like a free cup of coffee. You're also going to get some endorphins released, so better mood, a little bit better mental health. Um, you get a boosted fat burning is going to spike your metabolism, and you get a little bit extra mitochondria. You get some mitochondrial biogenesis. I like that as well. So some heat versus cold exposures can be great for us. Um, yeah, so just controlling your environment and using it to your benefits, right? Air quality. This is something I'm really fortunate to not have issues with this. Just living, I don't live near a forest fire heavy area of the world. I don't live near a whole bunch of factories that are pumping out maybe some toxins into the air. So it's never really been, and I also don't have too many allergies. So I'm just kind of lucky based on my allergy immunity as well as my local area and environment. But there are things that you can do to improve this. So getting away from some of those lower air quality spaces, and then also controlling what's going on in your home. Um, if you just Google like NASA houseplants, NASA does a at one point they rated the quality of different houseplants and what those houseplants are going to filter out of the air in your own home. So in our own homes, you got to think we can actually get a lot of air quality issues inside the house. So um, all the plastics and things that are brought into the home will actually kind of discharge some low quality um, some particulates that will decrease the quality of air in your own home. So it can be a good idea to have plants in the house that will draw some of those things out of the air. So I myself have a couple of peace lilies in the house, which if you look at that NASA screening, it would have been wise of me to include that in this slideshow, but I failed. I failed to do that. Um, so my peace lilies are one of the best air filters that I can put in the house. I just have a couple of them, in reality, if I wanted to make a huge impact, I would have to have like a little miniature forest in the house. But um, I think I think having a little bit is better than nothing, right? So um, as far as like essential oils and things like that, there's aromatherapy. So certain smells will help boost mood and kind of change your physiology a little bit. One that I'm particularly familiar with is lavender. So the German FDA will suggest lavender um, over a lot of insomnia pills, and so they say that that lavender is a good way to go. It's going to lower your blood pressure, lower your skin temperature, lower your body temperature, and just kind of promote a cooler, calmer body. And I don't have a list of oils to go through. That's another. There's so many things that I'm not an expert on, but that's another area where I understand there's people that are selling them and promoting them and researching them, and I just don't know my oils too well when it comes to aromatherapy and essential oils. That's not in my wheelhouse, and I don't want to pretend that it is. Ergonomics. So actually, right now, what I've got going on is standing up to do this lecture, and here is my home workspace, which is a stand-up desk. I'm very fortunate to have a buddy who builds desks. And so he got me one just the right height. And I sort of rigged it up so that, let's see if I can change that here. So when I'm standing up, my elbows are right around 90 degrees to do my typing. And then I've got a screen. So my keyboard is down below by my fingers. And then I've got a screen. Oh gosh, if I'm standing here, that screen is somewhere around 24 to 36 inches away from my face. And that way I'm not doing my old man squinting too much to read things. But I'm also not spending big periods of time in neck flexion or extension. And so it allows me to have more of a neutral neck for longer periods of time. So I'm just trying to get myself, it's just those little things all added up to try to get me to be healthier and more productive, right? So ergonomics is, trying to find ways to keep your body happy, especially when you're spending a lot of time in those positions. So I'll do my standing desk, or I'll go into a half kneeling position, and I'll just kind of do my best. And that one, I tend to kind of have to do this a little bit more, but my spine is neutral and my pelvis is neutral. So a lot of sitting down, my hip flexors tend to tighten up, and I get some lower back pain. As far as noise goes, um, do what you can to control it. I think the earbuds that are in right now, I think the statistic is that um, like 2 hours of really loud noise in your ears will expedite hearing loss, or it's a pretty big number. I think the number is somewhere around 8 or 10 hours of just low level constant noise. So think about your feet. Like if you were going to go run a marathon every day, how many days would it take for those feet to wear out? Blisters, broken bones, just nastiness down around your feet. If you've constantly got music and noise and podcasts in your ears, it makes sense that eventually they're going to just wear out just a little bit, right? So I'm familiar that soldiers who are around gunfire quite a bit and loud explosions, things like that, that speeds up their hearing loss. And now that we have this technology and these headphones, sorry, for some reason I thought I had one to just grab, but anyways, um, to have those headphones in there all day long, all the time, especially now that these earbuds are out and the Bluetooth technology that's gotten so common in the last decade here, I think a lot of us slash the younger people, I think there's going to be a lot of hearing issues in the near future. in younger and younger groups. So I don't want anything to do with that. So personally, I try to, if I'm driving, I try to take out my headphones and I'll put it on my car stereo system just so that it's not blasting so directly right there. I think that helps a little bit. I'm not totally positive. And then I'll also just sometimes, we've talked about the benefits of meditation and things like that. Sometimes I just shut it down and I give myself some quiet time, right? And then at night I do some ear plugs. So just little pieces of foam that go in there, that's going to boost my sleep quality and it's going to give my ears some time off as far as just taking in sound. Um, so those are some things to consider. And also, I guess a little story I had is that I spent my teenage years living in a condo, and across the street was a daycare facility. So anytime I'd be at home during the day on a weekday, I would hear like death shrills of young children. Now, they weren't actually being hurt, nothing negative like that. But if you've ever been around like 2 and 3 year olds, when they're having fun, sometimes they just scream as loud as they possibly can. Or if they're, playing games, chasing each other, sometimes there's a lot of just blood curdling screams coming out. And so what does that do? Is that puts you on high alert. And it's like, oh my gosh, I might need to go help somebody. And then you remember they're probably just playing, but you just constantly hearing those screams over and over again. Not really damaging to my ears to be that far away from it, but stimulating me and causing a little bit of stress, upticks and things like that. So also consider your environment. As a strength coach, if I'm in a weight room for 8 hours, 8+ hours a day, and we have aggressive, loud, angry music playing on full blast over and over again, not only does my hearing come into risk a little bit, but also think about some of that stimulation a little bit is to constantly be surrounded by sort of negative, loud, aggressive, impactful music. That's kind of like having those little kids across the street just screaming all the time. Just little stressful upticks and things like that, and also hard to focus and get things done. So just try to control your environment as much as able. Even if you love music and you love metal rock and rap and all other stuff, sometimes you're just going to wear on yourself a little bit, constantly being inundated with that stimulation. Okay, we've talked about Shinrin Yoku a handful of times already. Not in this presentation, but this semester. Yeah, your ability to remove yourself from the artificial environment and go be around plants and sunshine and fresh air. The science on that is super, super strong. And remember, we've talked about that with Japan spending $385 million to overhaul their cities and their countries to have more parks and more plants available for their people because they know it's a smart investment. They know that the science says that more exposure to nature leads to healthier, happier people. And healthier, happier people don't need as much medical care. And the medical care that they're not pursuing and not soaking up from the country's resources makes that investment of $385 million totally worthwhile. So make sure that you are getting your forest bathing in on a regular basis. Um, you know, it may not be for 3 hours every day, but hopefully 15 or 20 minutes a day or some bigger exposures a few times a week. And even if you aren't walking around the forest, if you just have something out in the yard, maybe you're gardening or you have a little rock garden, something that you can do something artistic and just interesting outside. For me, I have a lawn to mow, kids to play with. I also like going out to parks to bike or to run. There's a good staircase at a park not too far from me that can kind of like get my heart rate up and get me real tired. So there's plenty of things to do. You have to find ways to get outside. As far as how you're living your life, just take some time to consider what's going on. Look at some of your different environments, your screen time, the noise, the constant headphones in. Are you getting outside and getting sunlight? How's your air quality? Are you a smoker? Are you around smokers? Do you have any plants in your home? Um, if you have allergies, are you hiding indoors because those allergies are so bad? You might even consider about changing your environment. So some people are going to just move to a place where they're not so miserable all the time due to those allergies. Ergonomics, think about finding a better setup for your workspace. Sitting down crowded over a laptop all day long, it's not how we're meant to live. Okay, so I also want to bring up and challenge you all that we've talked about our locus of control. So environment, you guys need to take charge a little bit. And what I'm trying to do with my family is give us a safe and healthy environment. And one of the things that we're doing is we're trying to take better care of the environment. So I'm teaching my children to pick up trash occasionally, not every piece of trash, but we're trying to take care of the earth. And I put a couple pictures in there as far as like some food scraps and things like that. So what we'll do is we'll collect our food waste from the kitchen stuff, put it in the trash can, and then I'll get it outside into my compost bins for my yard waste. And what that'll do is that'll go into um, a bunch of other yard waste, and that's going to break down. It's going to get those nutrients from all the food that I'm not eating, the tops of strawberries, the tops of peppers, eggshells, and that's going to get back into the soil and into the environment a little bit better. So I'm trying to have an internal locus of control and make the world a better place, right? So it sounds very cliche, but that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to teach my children how to do it because when we're all unhealthy, uh, and we maybe if our Earth becomes deteriorating, global warming, et cetera, et cetera. If we had an internal locus of control, we'd actually be doing something about it, right? And then another thing that I do is I'm fortunate, but I'm fortunate that I'm able to do this. But my wife and I, we prioritize the environment that our children live in. So we try to get them in an environment where there's easy access to a play space, whether that's outdoors or indoors, right? So um, if you look in that upper left picture, you can kind of see into our backyard that there's a common ground available. You can kind of see and one window, you can see a tire swing dangling out. And in another window, you can see a little birdhouse hanging off that tree. And so we've got lots of stuff to do outside. And we're trying to promote that and keep them healthy, keep them away from the TV, keep them moving and strong. And then if you look at that more interior photo, we put time and effort into getting them things to stimulate them physically and mentally. So they have like an arts and crafts area. I built a jungle gym that they can play on. Ironically, I can also play on it. I may or may not have designed it for that purpose. And my daughter just got that pink ballet bar in there because she's obsessed with ballet and wants to do that all the time. So make sure that your environment, you're taking control of it. So I know not everybody has the ability to outfit their situation like that, but should have a gym membership, or if you're not going to a gym, learn more about calisthenics and bodyweight exercises, or get outside and do extra cardio, do things that are going to keep you moving and keep you healthy. As far as xenoestrogens go, just like those big factories are going to kick out pollutants into the air, we actually have an issue that a lot of what we're ingesting through food, skincare products, again, the environment, even healthy food, some of these things, they have negative compounds in them. So those things are called xenoestrogens, or can be called xenoestrogens. So think about like artificial substances getting into our body and disrupting our hormone profile. So there's a link right there. If you go in and click on that, listen to Dr. Josh Axe talk for a little bit about some food quality. Think about if you're eating not a poison per se, but kind of a poison. Isn't that one of the best ways for that food to get literally into your body? Not to breathe it in, not to put it on your skin on a bad product, but to actually eat it. So he's going to talk about some foods, good and bad. So please pause, take a listen to that, and maybe rethink a little bit of some of the food products that you're getting and some of the containers that you're eating out of. So I try to eat strictly, I try to avoid plastic as much as I can. So I will use like a metal, drink container, or yeah, I've got an old pickle jar laying around that I use quite a bit. That's nice. That's glass inside and not plastic. So I won't heat things up in plastic Tupperwares. Um, and then yeah, I do try to eat healthy as much as possible. But there's still I've got plenty of room for improvement. So this video is for you guys, but it's for me. It's for me too, right? Okay, so that's our lecture. Remember, you guys have these slides available on Canvas. You also have a little quiz due, so check that out. And thanks for the flexibility on what's going on with our Tuesday class. And I will see you guys on Thursday.